Avengers!
Assemble.
Good morning and welcome to the National Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. Yep, the Montgomery Brawl. Folks are talking about it this morning like it happened this morning, and understandably so. We got some more to add ourselves. And also, goodness grief, Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx is recovering, as we know. He admittedly recovering from something that, as he said, his life was in jeopardy. And now he's got to recover from, quote, hashtag fake friends and language that somehow folks thought offensive. We'll talk about that as well. Does the law prevent Donald Trump from going to jail? Well, you'll be surprised that it just might, despite him facing as much as 641 years in prison if he's convicted. And the late Charles Ogletree Jr., we remember him this morning, the law extraordinaire who sat and defended Anita Hill during the whole Clarence Thomas fiasco when he was being confirmed. He passed away over the weekend at the age of 70. We got the guys with us this morning: Barrington Salmon, Austin Cooper.
Morning. Morning, brother.
Now,
How are you?
now, wait, who's the swimmer among us? Not me. Is it
Not
Barrington?
Not me.
And I'm sitting on my hands, and I was born in Miami.
Who's the black Aquaman?
I'd have to be slinging that chair from afar.
Oh gosh, it's playing out on videos as Black Aquaman meets the Boston Tea Party. It's not summer. It's not a summer blockbuster movie, but the world continues to watch as a supposedly relaxing Saturday on the Alabama River turned into anything but at Montgomery's Riverfront Park when a group of white boaters jumped on a black security guard rather than move their boat. And we saw what happened. I'm gonna start with you, Austin. I mean, first of all, your immediate take, and then the aftermath.
Well, and good morning again, my dear brothers. Montgomery and Black history is known, amongst other things, for the Montgomery bus boycott, the Selma to Montgomery March, and now the Montgomery Brawl. Now, I'm not not a violent person. I don't condone violence, but I got to admit, I enjoyed watching that. I mean, and I don't know whether it's just the pent up rage that I have with white privilege. Trump and DeSantis and Abbott out of Texas. But think about it. Think about it. These folks, these white folk, felt they had the right to attack a black security guard doing his job, and they were in the wrong. The boat should not have been parked there. You can see that huge riverboat behind it, waiting to let people off. And I'm assuming to load another group of people to tour, go up and down the river or whatever it is they were doing. And they saw fit to attack this brother, not just one person, but a group of them. And once he threw the, I guess what is now the new bat signal, throwing up of the hat, all hell broke loose, and it was entertaining to watch.
The hat got me. That was one of the things that got me. We got a critique on Aquaman, on Black Aquaman. Bobby says even though he got Bobby Henry says even though he got there, he needs to improve his strokes by keeping his head in the water. But here's the thing, Barrington. Power 96 says this, but I've seen this the last several days. There's been folks. First of all, they were released, all arrested, all at least. Well, I think all of them arrested was released. I don't think they had the post bail, but there was a movement, immediate movement. And Power 96 says, I'm willing to donate to any Black person who will be charged. I will support their legal defense fund. There was a swift movement to raise funds for any potential bail and defense, Barrington.
Yeah. I am elated, to see that mi gente came so quickly to the aid of someone in distress, because it just made me think about all the times when I was at Florida State, Florida A&M in Tallahassee, and we on at least 2 or 3 occasions had to wade into fights with white dudes, 5 and 6 and 8 white dudes and 1 Black person, and we would jump in and even out the odds. This has not changed. They are bullies. None of them. If one of them fought him, it would have been different. But the general way that they do stuff is to jump in as a group. I am glad to see the Black solidarity, the Black unity. I scoff at anybody who says that no violence at any cost. This is not the guard going off and grabbing and beating up some people for no reason. He was defending himself. Yep. And others that came to help him defending himself. And I said,
clearly the guard did not start the fight. Clearly he did not. He was just doing his job and he was attacked.
Yeah.
And what was interesting is that you had women attacking him as well.
Of course.
I mean, he was being kicked as those guys jumped him. And the mayor
when the sisters jumped in?
I didn't hear you, Barrington.
Did you see when the sisters jumped in?
Yeah, we saw that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The mayor said those who choose violent actions will be held accountable by our criminal justice system. The mayor was demonstrably upset with those voters, more so than the Black folks who came to the security guards' aid. Now, one thing, Barrington Austin, as Power 96 says, the chair belongs in the African American Museum. Did he go too far with the chair?
Nope. No. They started it. He finished it.
Yeah, but the chair introduces an element of a weapon now that could lead to certain charges.
But your fists are a weapon too, right? Aren't they? Aren't your fists a weapon as well?
I mean, I have to admit, I did not see, I cringed when I saw like 1 or 2 women on the ground, white women on the ground being hit with the chair. I don't recall seeing. I think that there were maybe 1 or 2 images of guys being hit, but you always want to give, women a second pass. But in this particular instance, they jumped in. They saw how crazy the brawl was. I don't know if they were trying to, protect, relatives who were being beat up. But you jump in, then you need to be prepared to, for the consequences.
Somebody went into the water too. One of those women went into the water.
2 of them white boys jumped in the water to get away.
No, they tossed one. It was a white woman. They tossed her in the water.
And these in this shot that they're showing here, those guys ran and jumped in the water to get away. But it's interesting because Mimi and I were looking at something on TikTok, and there was a young lady who said that they had an ancestral ceremony earlier where they had put flowers in the water
Mm.
Really?
and invoked the ancestors, because that spot was
Yep.
a slave trading spot.
It was that very spot.
That very
Um,
spot was a slave trading spot. So there's a lot of things outside that put it more into context.
mhm.
Because I think that the ceremony stirred up some ancestors and helped. They came out to take care of business.
Well, keep in mind, as Mike V points out too, what's interesting too, the other thing that adds to this is that Trump was there the day before and had a
Yeah,
rally there.
yeah, yeah,
Exactly. Talking
So
not
as Mike
great.
V said, the match was already lit.
yeah. And if you put it in context, brothers, with all of the things that Alabama's been doing to with them ignoring the Supreme Court about um, drawing a second congressional map, a black majority congressional map, and all, that's Alabama, right? Is that Alabama or is that Mississippi?
No, it's Alabama.
Of Alabama.
Yeah. So and the basic neo Jim Crow behavior that the Republican Party and the legislators have had. So this was bound to happen, and I predict that it's going to happen a whole lot more.
And again, Alabama is one of those states, Georgia, Texas, Mississippi, that to me are always, always, powder kegs. Just waiting to erupt in violence. So I'm not. I'm sure none of us, nor our viewers, are surprised that it happened there. And to Barrington's point, there are going to be a lot more instances like this because Black folk are fed up.
Yeah,
And also, you've got some. Don't be surprised to see violence by whites displayed on our women and our brothers in retaliation.
Well,
but
and
they've
that's the
been doing
thing, right?
it though.
Huh?
They've. I mean, I see videos almost every day of things of them beating up and brutalizing
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
women
Yep.
and children, our women and children.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, there are arrest warrants out. The mayor said at least 4 others are being sought. Um, police department said that there are still lots of evidence to go through. How do we see this ended as far as the legal side?
Black people get higher sentences than white people. That's the way it's always been. The criminal.
Yeah, do you think that's gonna that's I know it's Alabama. Gosh, I mean, I hate to be we got a newspaper in Birmingham. We got but my gosh, I am just not a fan of those particular states at the moment. Like you said, Alabama, Mississippi, especially those two. Um, but um, but everyone's gonna be watching this situation. They're gonna be watching the outcome of this situation because this security guy was doing his job. Obviously, he's probably not going to be charged with anything.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be, as looking at the videotape. I can't. Yeah, but it's everyone else who came to his aid that you have to be concerned about, and I, I just think that there's a concern that's growing.
Yeah, my biggest concern is for the dude that hit the woman with the chair.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that he's gonna he has the most legal jeopardy.
And he was promptly arrested. If you saw, I think
He was immediately
interim-
well. So
um,
he hit a man first with the chair.
Yeah.
If you notice, he hit a man for. And I think it appeared. I won't say. I think it appeared that he just was, as you guys it was expressing, fed up. He lost control of himself for that moment.
Yeah.
And in his mind, was trying to regain control of the situation.
Yeah.
And the chair.
He was wielding that chair like a Jedi, bruh.
Yeah.
He was.
But the legal jeopardy for him will be: was he under threat?
Yeah.
I mean, the woman was clearly on the ground. I understand the rage, and frankly,
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching it. But I think, and I'm no lawyer, but I would think that was I think he hit one or two, at least one woman I know who was already on the ground, and to me looked disoriented. You know,
He hit one. It was a man first that he
He
hit
hit
with
a
the
man, he
chair.
hit a man first. Yeah.
Yeah. David Youngblood, who knows something, a little something about law, he says defense of others is a proper defense, but not with the chair, and that's where he perhaps went wrong
hmm
with, as you said, with the chair. I don't know how that is being that's going to be defended.
Well, I think we should prepare ourselves for unequal justice once
Hmm.
again in Alabama because it's Alabama.
Well, Mike V again, Mike V. Kudos to Mike V for bringing this out too. Alabama has a stand your ground law that could
Oh,
work in their favor.
Mm.
but
Um,
if it's Florida, that don't mean nothing because there have been black people who stood their ground and went to trial on stand your ground. I'm thinking about this young black man in the Navy, and he got 25 years. He was attacked by a bunch of white boys in a club, and he defended himself. I think one of them may have died, and
mhm.
the judge threw out his stand your ground defense. So it's all racism and unequal justice. So and it's Alabama. I think the only thing that might give prosecutors pause is that there's going to be so much, and there is so much attention put on it. So yeah.
Yeah, well, it's one to watch. Again, this is not, as you said, Austin. We certainly don't condone violence, but this was a very interesting situation that unfolded on the docks in Montgomery over the weekend.
hmm
Y'all know how many times we done sat on camera and watch people get brutalized and we know what's gonna happen? So y'all wondering why folks so happy, why folks so celebratory behind a brawl? Because we used to getting our ass whooped on camera and nobody doing nothing about it at all. As a matter of fact, I would say that the instilling, you feel me, of American supremacy make it where when we see somebody else looking like us getting their ass beat, we supposed to sit there and chill because it could be us. You see what I'm saying? Yesterday, something different. You feel me? It was a different phenomenon, a different way of seeing how what black unity can do. But also, you know what I'm saying, seeing how folks could really have the nerve and fuck around and find out. Think about it. What is the psyche of that white redneck family that thought they was gonna be able to brutalize a black man doing his job at work in broad daylight? Think about how you got to be raised to even feel like that's rational, think that that's cool. You see what I'm saying? So when you asking why so many of y'all talking about chairs and talking about Aquaman swimming, and because we seen such a masterful sequence of events that really was, you know what I'm saying, going against how they teach us, how we've been indoctrinated, how we should act, how we are, who we are. You feel me? That's my thought on it anyway. You know what I'm saying? I'm curious of why y'all think people are so celebratory, inspired, empowered by what happened at that riverboat. Why?
That's a great question.
Great point. Great point. And this reminded it was a moment of and again, I don't condone violence, but I felt a certain amount of justification, some elation, and it reminded me of when the verdict came out with O.J. Simpson,
Mhm.
20 or 30 years ago. I mean, do I think O.J. did it? Yeah, I thought it then, and I think he had something to do with it now.
Oh, he
But
did it.
but it reminded me of how I felt back when I was working up at Charlie Rangel up in Harlem. I remember when the verdict came out, going to the window. We were on Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard, and just hearing the cheers and walking outside and hearing the elation. And my ex was who worked down in Wall Street, said that people were looking at her, glaring at her,
Yeah.
on the she was working down by the foreign investment bank down on the stock exchange. But I think folks felt finally, one of us, had the money to have, top lawyers question each and every bit of evidence,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
finally the rules applied to us.
And you got to remember too, we talked about the backdrop here, with what where that took this historical place that this took place, and the fact that Trump had a rally the day before. And with the OJ thing, you got to remember those officers who beat Rodney King was just acquitted you
Yeah.
know, just before the OJ situation
Right.
unfolded, and you had the riot, and you had this defeated attitude among many in the Black community that we will never overcome. We will always, despite a video
Yeah.
where, I mean, Rodney King was absolutely lynched,
Yeah.
and it was on video,
Yep.
and they could not get convictions.
And
And so the OJ thing, and I always say this, I think it's always important to mention that the jubilation following the verdict in the OJ wasn't about OJ Simpson.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was interesting because I remember I was in the newsroom. We had bet with the publisher, and some reporters had bet whether he would get off or not. I bet them that he would get off. But they had a split screen of white reaction.
That's right.
Yep.
Reaction,
That's right.
you know.
Which
And
only further doesn't that also further forges a divide when they
course.
did, because I remember all the news channels basically did that.
Yeah,
split
of course,
screen.
of course. But because listen, we can never forget the fact that mass media, mainstream media, is complicit and culpable in furthering advancing white supremacy, white dominance. I hate white supremacy because they're not supreme. White dominance and white control. They're part and parcel of the whole thing. So yeah, they're gonna they do everything they can, because as we know, if it bleeds, it leads. So the most divisive, the most negative, the most bloody stories are the ones that are gonna be at the top of the poll.
Yeah.
And if I could throw this in before, if I may, Stacey,
Yes.
Barrington,
Mhm.
you remember how the O.J. Simpson trial was televised? I forgot
Yeah.
how long it was on, but
Yeah.
the chase and the entire trial was like must see TV.
Yeah.
I love must see TV for me.
Yeah.
And that is why I believe that all of the trials of Donald Trump
Need to be published. Need to be. That's true.
be televised.
Yeah, we're gonna talk more about Donald Trump in a minute. But if you didn't realize it, now you know free speech was never intended for African Americans. This Jamie Foxx thing illuminates how unfamiliar cultures are with each other sometimes. Black people often state some form of what Jamie said, and it's not about Jewish people, but the world in general, and backstabbers. Over the weekend, a simple Instagram post became an unfortunate series of events that was driven by woeful ignorance, unfair hostility, and racial double standards. That's the bottom line here. Jamie Foxx made an Instagram post that ran with the hashtag of fake friends and fake love. And what it said was, quote, "They killed this dude named Jesus. What do you think they'll do to you?" And speaking of fake friends, the fake friend who starred in the fake living single show really threw gasoline on this fire, really got it rolling. That's Jennifer Anderson. And without her interfering, without her minding, as they said, black people business, this would have been a non-issue.
You know, clearly, overreaction for no reaction. It just makes no sense. If Jamie wanted to be anti-Semitic, I think Jamie would have been anti-Semitic. In this, and I don't believe that he is, to be very very clear. But this is just to me much ado about nothing, and just go to show you how we are judged differently and held to a higher standard.
Greer says that's why black women don't trust white women.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just it's so absurd that now and it only happens. Look, let's face it, this only happens to black folks.
No,
Because
not with the anti-Semitic thing.
no, I'm talking about just regular stuff like this that shouldn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
have gotten anybody's attention.
Yeah.
Right. He simply was, and he said it in his tweet that the tweet or the Instagram post that everybody is talking about, he was talking about somebody backstabbed him. It was
Yeah.
a fake friend, and without identifying the person, and that's all that they was. That they was that particular person without identifying. I mean, so
But there's a
anything we say,
there's a machine, Stace. There's a machine out there that if you make any statement that because and it's interesting because the whole idea of criticizing the state of Israel, certain Jews, Zionists in particular, if you make any reference at all, any type of criticism, they paint you with the brush of being anti-Semitic.
but this had nothing to do with Jewish people
Yeah.
whatsoever.
But that's what people do. That's what the weaponizing does. They basically pull themselves into this conversation when they're not supposed to be in there in the first place, because he wasn't referring to them.
And anytime you, whether you're an elected official, whether you're a journalist like us, anybody, anytime you question, much less criticize Israel, this is the kind of attack that
Yeah.
you got scared.
And here's the thing.
I mean, keep in mind, Jimmy Carter, former President Jimmy Carter, wrote a book at least 20, 30 years ago, and wasn't it like the apartheid state of Israel? Referring to how they treat Palestinians.
And he called hell, right?
He called
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. So we're expected, and Jamie was expected to understand and know another culture. Yet
They don't
want to understand and know our culture. They keep banning books. They banning Black history. They ban. What's going on here? And who's they? Who are we talking about when we say they? We're talking about the masses. We're not talking about Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the masses. Talking about the DeSantis of the world, of course. We're talking about the Abbotts of the world.
Greg Abbotts of the world.
Right?
All
Talking
about the Trumps and the Sanderses of the world.
Yes.
All of them. All of them.
And this and as Greer points out, and as so many have immediately pointed out, if you've gone to a Black church, you've heard it come from the pulpit. It wasn't meant to disparage any group.
Yeah,
they talk. Listen, my grandparents, my mom used to say all the time, "Oh, mom, why?" They were talking about. Well, they talked about Jesus Christ. Well, they killed Jesus Christ.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We've heard that throughout our lives.
He didn't crucify himself.
Yeah.
We've heard that forever, and none of us. I speak for myself as a kid. Every time I heard, and I must have heard that expression like a million times, I never once said they're talking about Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
But you notice that Jamie had to come out real quickly and apologize, because if not, his career would have been ruined.
Well, what has been the latest comments since by Jennifer Aniston?
None that I've seen.
She did not retract her. You got to remember, she liked the post at first.
Yeah.
And then she claimed she accidentally liked it.
But she liked the post, and then when she started getting heat, then she
threw the gas on the fire, and then she went and hid. As what Michael Jackson said in the song, she threw the rock, and then she hid her hand.
Yeah.
This is the book by the 39th president, Jimmy Carter, Palestine, Peace, Not Apartheid. Came out in November of 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when this came out, him taking a lot of heat.
Yeah.
The ADL said they accepted Jamie's the anti-defamation lease. He's
safe then. His career is safe. No, seriously. Because there's a whole machine. There's a whole machine that anytime you have been identified as being anti-Semitic, they do everything to destroy you. So
Yeah. So here's the thing. Again, going back to the cultures, understanding culture. They don't want no people don't want to understand our culture. But here the other thing is, how about those who believe what they're taught in the Bible, right? And as opposed to people who say, well, that part Jewish people killing Christ is not true. So
it's not
wait a
true.
minute. Um, you're upset over something that you believe to be true or not true. And these, other folks, those who believe the scriptures that they read, believe that to be true. So you understand where I'm going, Barrington, here?
Yeah, yeah. But I think a part of it too is just along the lines of historical erasure and historical revisionism, because one of the things that I find interesting is the ways that, because on one hand, if you listen to folks, they basically are telling you that you can, that because they are the chosen people, they hold a special place. There's certain things that they're, I guess, allowed to do because they're special, the chosen people. And but it's like having your cake and eating it, because they embrace the idea of being the chosen people. But when you criticize them for what they're doing to the Palestinians, then you're being anti-Semitic.
Exactly.
They want to have it both ways. And I make the distinction between regular Jewish people and the Zionists. The Zionists are the ones that have stolen Palestinian land, that are killing Palestinians, and that are trying to basically erase them from Palestine.
Well, here's the thing too. The other part of it, and I always hate this to have to sit here and offer a defense for a celebrity, right? I don't care if they black, white, or whatever, because celebrities, they have a machine. They can do whatever they want. They can defend themselves or whatever. They don't need us. But with all that said, here's a guy who has no history whatsoever of pushing harmful slurs or insults of any
Anybody.
marginalized community.
Mhm.
They tried to trot out this video from 2012 or 13 when he did the Django Unchained movie, or whenever it was, and where he said, where he made a joke. I guess it was Saturday Night Live. They asked him about the best part of the movie. He said he killed all the white people, and they tried to trot that out to say, "See, look." No, he was simply saying in that the character, in the context of that character, being able to kill white slave owners was something to rejoice over. And
Gratifying.
guess what? Who's going to disagree with that except the slave master?
Yeah.
Mhm. Or Ron DeSantis, who says that slavery, we benefited from slavery.
No. Go back a little bit before that, Austin, because remember, a part of what he put out was that enslaved Africans were violent too because they fought back against their enslavers.
Mm-hmm.
That shows you what a piece of trash he is, and what they're trying to put out there.
Yeah, it's
Another chair meeting.
Yeah.
but again, just to sum it up, the term "they killed Jesus" has been a long time part of the Black diction to remind us as a people to be mindful of those around us who don't mean us well. They are haters, fake friends, Jennifer Aniston, and evil people, not Jewish people, but people to be quick to assume the worst in those who haven't shown us such ill will in the past says a whole lot. The fake friends,
Hmm.
and they quickly show up in how Jennifer Aniston was quick
Right.
to throw Jamie Foxx under the bus.
Hmm.
And
And that was only after the blogs noted that she liked the tweet or
Yeah,
the
yeah.
post.
and Congresswoman Ilhan Omar from I think that's Minneapolis is no longer
No,
on
she's from Michigan,
Foreign Affairs.
Minneapolis. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, she was removed, beginning of this Congress by the
For so-called
majority.
so-called anti-Semitic comments.
Exactly. That's exactly where I'm going. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
But
just
she was set to be chair
Yeah.
of the House Subcommittee on Africa.
Hmm.
Once Karen Bass
Yeah.
left to become mayor, so she's no longer on that committee.
Yeah.
And the thing, once again, and I know I'm harping on Jennifer Aniston because she deserves it. Her reaction was also very much problematic in that it would have been she co-starred with him. She knows him. It would have been easy for her to just call him up, right?
Yeah.
Instead
You
of
say
doing this.
Did you say she was a co-star?
She co-starred with him in a movie.
Okay.
And it would have been so easy for her to reach out. Even if she didn't co-star with him, she did, but even if she didn't.
Exactly. They certainly know one another and move in those circles.
Yes.
Text him, call him.
Anytime, listen, if they don't have each other's direct numbers,
It
the
wouldn't be
agents
hard,
do.
it wouldn't be hard for her to get it
Right.
if she
Right.
wanted. Yeah.
It's just she could have simply waited for his response too, right?
Yeah.
She didn't have to. Again, he called it out even before her doing it. Fake friends.
Mhm.
And Jamie's apology simply said, "I now know my choice of words have caused offense, and I'm sorry that was never my intent." He
Yeah.
says he was betrayed by a fake friend, and that's what I meant with quote unquote they, not anything more. So, and in general, I don't think there was anything wrong with his apology. I know a lot of black folks and Barrington, I hear where you're coming from too, and I don't necessarily disagree. He shouldn't have had to apologize, but
Yeah.
you know what? I think he just took the high road, said, listen, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Here's what I meant. And he said what he meant when he posted it in the first place. He had the hashtag. He didn't just go back later and add those hashtags.
No.
And those who proclaim to have been offended know what he meant.
Those
Yeah.
who claim to be offended, sometimes you look to be offended. You're looking for a reason
Of
to be
course.
offended.
What can I be offended about?
Especially in the snowflake culture. It's like and it's like everything that we do is an issue. It's a problem, So yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, former President Donald Trump once famously said he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and go unpunished. He said in 2016 at a rally in Iowa, I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose voters. Well, here we are 7 years later, 2 impeachments later, 3 indictments later, a civil sexual assault conviction later, and a 4th indictment coming really soon out of Georgia. Well, guess what, guys? He may have been right.
He can still run.
The GOP's 2024 frontrunner is Trump. He currently faces a staggering 78 felony charges spanning 3 criminal cases. And here's the thing, he could get, if he's convicted on every single charge, right? And just say he gets the maximum sentence on every single charge, he would get 641 years in prison, right? But as we know, that's not going to happen, right? He's not even been required to post bail. And here's the thing I wanted to point out before you guys go at this, right? Of course, we know he hasn't been subjected to the standard mugshot, the perk walk, or even had to put up bail money. And in New York, for example, right, he's facing 34 criminal charges in New York, where the average cash bail amount for a felony is approximately $39,000 per offense. Or in Trump's case, it would be a total of $1.36 million. Typically, federal bail for felonies could run as much as $200,000 per felony. And in Trump's case, that would mean $8.8 million bail. He hasn't had to pay 1 cent. So now the question becomes, if he's convicted of any or all of the charges, legally, could he go to prison? And why that question comes up? In 2012, President Barack Obama signed back into law a lifetime guarantee of Secret Service protection to all ex-presidents, right? So the Secret Service is responsible for his protection for life. You cannot put the Secret Service agents in a prison cell. I don't like the silence.
I mean,
Go on.
Barrington. Go ahead, Barrington.
Thank you. As I'm watching all of this play out, it just I I'm glad it's happening. I'm glad we're seeing this so that we can see the bullshit that passes for criminal justice in this country. And that regardless of how much they want to try to make us feel that everybody is equal under the law, that rich boys, rich women, rich people, wealthy people, connected people, they always get a get out of jail free card or a free pass or something of that nature. Um, I am so annoyed every time I see the way that the media portrays this liar and thief and con man, this insurrectionist, this coup plotter. They're always walking gingerly around, trying not to say what we know. Think about how long it took for mainstream media to call him a racist, how long it took for them to call him a liar. Black people were calling him that from the time from before he came down the escalator, because and anybody in New York who knew him could tell you what a crappy, nasty, vile, racist individual he was. But even now, with all of this, I keep on hearing them talking about the Department of Justice saying, well, we don't know if we should prosecute him because he's a former president. That's some garbage. That's some garbage. And they're gonna mess around and allow him to come back in as president. And if he comes back in as president, America as we know it is done. Yep.
Yeah, the thing is, only the president or the ex-president himself, the ex-president can waive his Secret Service protection, and the only president who ever done that was Richard Nixon, who did it 11 years after he resigned. He said that he wanted to save taxpayers' money, but Eric Holder said that there is a possibility to work around that particular stumbling block. He says that there's nothing. He doesn't believe that there's anything preventing in that law that guarantees the ex-president's Secret Service protection, that they can't turn that responsibility over to the Department of Justice, which
Bureau of Prisons,
is the Bureau, right, which would then give it to the Bureau of Prisons. Chuck Rosenberg is a former top federal prosecutor and counsel to FBI Director James Comey, a former FBI Director James Comey, offered his insights. He said that any federal district judge ought to understand that this raises enormous and unprecedented logistical issues. Now, he says, could Trump go to prison? Theoretically, yes, and practically, no. As far as the Secret Service's role, several law professors weighed in, saying that it could be that they would station one or two Secret Service details sitting outside his cell with the correctional officers, or that they could actually act as correctional officers, and using Chelsea Clinton and other kids, Obama's kids, as examples. When they went to college, when they went to in their dorms, Chelsea actually had an agent sleeping in the dorm next door to her. And in the Obama's kids case, they had agents at the school at all times dressed as students.
Young agents, exactly.
Yeah. So there are logistics in which some experts say that they can work around to ensure that he is imprisoned. But it still comes down to having to go through that law. And of course, Trump will use the Supreme Court to his advantage. Now, here's the other thing that's happened here too. Eileen Canning, the judge that he appointed that's overseeing the documents case in Florida,
yeah,
who is a known MAGA supporter, she struck again. Yesterday, she threw out 2 of the charges against Trump, but she did so with every lawyer in the country, and I wish we had Tarver right now, said she did it illegally. And what she did, her ruling was so bad, according to several folks we talked to, and folks who were being interviewed in other media, It's so bad that it would be a shock at this point if she's not removed from this case. Remember, she was an appeals court had to correct her on the Trump issue last year.
In two instances, they had to. They said that she had ruled improperly, I guess.
Mhm.
But this is good.
They said Barrington. They said that she's ruling as if she has absolutely no training, no law school
Yeah,
training at all.
but they said she was only a lawyer for like 3 years when she was nominated, and I don't think that she ever had any cases of substance that she oversaw. So she's basically a rookie. She's like me, and I could probably do a better job than she has.
And every lawyer, every judge, to Barrington's point, has has a starting point. This lady has, this judge has a starting point. Well, she should not have been given the case to begin with.
Right.
And if I can go back, I get tired of hearing all of the the debates and discussions about what a logistical nightmare it will be to put President Trump in prison. You guys know, you're here in Washington all the time, as I am. Do you know the logistics that goes into any president of the United States going from the White House to the Capitol?
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe 2 miles. I mean, just the logistics, much less when he gets
Listen, that Austin, first, before you go on, that photo there, that's the judge.
Wait, what?
Really?
Yes. Greer says that's the judge.
I was wondering why this thing kept on coming up.
Put it up again, Greer? Oh my God. Look, I gotta get a picture.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's on the left.
Wow.
On my left. Team Trump.
But and this whole thing frustrates me. Discussions about the country cannot the Gerald Ford excuse in 1974. By the way, today is August 8th. I think tomorrow. Today is the anniversary of Richard Nixon resigning.
Yep.
In a speech, and then tomorrow he officially left the White House for good. So time for discussion. But had Gerald Ford not cut a deal with Richard Nixon and pardoned him, and had Richard Nixon gone to prison, America would have been fine.
Yeah.
And if Donald Trump goes to prison, America will be fine.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, because remember, he and Bannon and all of his minions have muddied the water and created this thing that I believe, I think that if he goes to prison, and it pisses me off that it's not even a certainty, given what he's done, they are prepared to foment as much unrest and all of this stuff as they can. I think the only mitigating factor is that so many of their funky asses been put in prison because of January 6th. So that might,
Barrington.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's interesting. So this idea of causing another insurrection style mob it's really already being debunked in a lot of ways. You think about it. Trump has said before the New York case, he said it's going to be the people are going to take to the streets. It's going to be this. It's going to be mayhem in the streets. He said it ahead of his arraignment last week, right?
Yeah.
And there was like 20 people who showed up. and there's speculation. A lot of it's obviously a speculation, but as you said, a lot of those folks seeing they went to prison. The Department of Justice has been putting them in prison. Those insurrectionists without and Trump attended one court date for those folks?
No.
Has he sent any money to them?
They're sending money to him.
He didn't even go to court date for his body, man.
Yeah.
Waltine Nada.
Right. So maybe it's overblown to this at this point, the type of support he has, as far as people willing to risk their liberty, risk themselves anymore. They did so in January 6th, of course, but maybe it's overblown now. What do you think?
I think it would be more clandestine. Folks dressed in burqas to hide their identities, and maybe Molotov cocktails, maybe bombs, those types of things where they can throw a stone and, like Michael Jackson said, throw the stone and hide their hand, rather than going out in large numbers in support of this fool.
And Donald Trump going to prison will no more divide the nation than did Barack Obama being elected president.
Well, that divided the nation, didn't it?
That cleaved the nation in two, though, Austin.
That what?
That Obama being elected president is what led us to this place.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that divided the nation in ways that only today, as we speak, we are still understanding and processing. Had Barack Obama not been a black man and had not held office for not one but two terms, scandal free. In 2016, even white trash would have not even taken Donald Trump seriously.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Obama. You said that the magic word there, scandal free. We got to see this clip. We have to see this clip. This guy had a complete meltdown on air because he realized he's in the Trump cult. I think I think Greer's pulling that up now. I mean, you got to see it. It's absolutely, here we go.
Offering them more accommodation, more chances than we'd offer our own family members, for goodness sakes. And for what? To have Rudy Giuliani go down to Georgia and admit he lied? Have Jason Miller tell the January 6th commission, yeah, we all knew it was BS. What is this? Some of you don't like it when I use the cult word, but when you like being treated like a schmuck and ask for more, that is a cult. I'm the mark. I'm the sucker. I want to be such. And I resent the person who tries to get me out of that. Those are marks of groupthink, frankly. How many people in this audience sent money to stop the steal 3 years ago? How many shows did I waste your time talking about this 3 years ago? How many? I still have not recovered between the election fraud and COVID. I probably have the smallest Facebook following of any major show in this entire industry. I will routinely post things on Facebook, get like 2 or 3 comments. It's like Facebook is like, we won't ban you because then you'll whine about it and generate a bunch of publicity. So we'll just make it that no one sees your material at all. Why? Because I went to the mattresses on COVID and the election fraud issue. Only to have Rudy Giuliani say, yeah, I was lying. And Jason Miller say, oh, we knew it was all BS.
All the best people, Steve.
Wow.
I mean, look, Austin.
I had not seen that clip, but yeah, I mean, it took him that long to come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right?
But if you think about it in terms of how masterfully they've wrapped the whole race thing into Trump, black people are a threat. Black people are, because I mean, I was doing some research the other day, and if you look at the 7 states that the electors, the fake electors,
Mm-hmm.
the states where the Trump campaign went to court talking about election fraud, it was all in majority black and urban areas where black political leaders are, where a vast majority, a considerable amount of people in these communities are black. So everything about this is about race. And everything about the fake electors thing was trying to project the idea that black people were stealing the election. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, they can all go straight to hell.
The singer Burton is watching. She says that was almost as good as the brawl.
Nah, the Brawl better, man.
Must be TV.
Yeah, it is mostly
I mean,
TV.
this guy totally melted down on his show.
On his own show. Yep.
He's like, oh my God, I'm in a cult.
I can throw this in. I know we're getting close to the end here, but I need Fonnie Willis, Attorney Fonnie Willis, to spill the beans.
It's coming. It's coming.
It's coming.
It's taken too long.
Patience,
It's
patience.
taking too long. It's taken too long. I mean,
Well, you know what? At this point, she's going to indict him. She's not going to be able to set a trial date until after all the other trial, or at least the federal trial dates are set. But here's the other thing, and I'm glad that we went down this road. We only got a few minutes, and I want to get into the passing of Charles Ogletree Jr. But the thing about it is, Trump and his team said something. They're trying to push the trials back, the federal trials, all the trials really back for 3 years. They said, right? They're arguing, right? And they're saying it took 3.5 years for them to bring this case, right? Which is not true, right? Number one, on its face, that's not true. The January 6th insurrection happened January 6th, 2021. And here we are in 2023, right?
Mhm.
But the other part of that is you kill someone, Barrington,
Mhm.
and they take 20 years to find out you killed them. Should you now be able to argue that, well, it took you 20 years, so my trial should be 20 years from now?
But the thing that I love as I watch all this playing out is how the myth is being debunked that certain people are smarter than everybody else, that Elon Musk is smarter than everybody else, that idiot Trump is smarter than anybody else. All of this is showing us that there are a bunch of Keystone cops who are as dumb as a stick, but who use money and PR to try to project themselves as being geniuses of the universe.
Yeah, dumb is right, because a lot of the big evidence happens to be on tape.
Yeah. And this dude won't stop talking. So when he at his last arraignment, when the magistrate said that you need to not say, I was like, in 3, 2, 1. As soon as he walked out, he started talking trash about. So I mean, and they're still giving him so much rope, because if it were any one of us who the judge said do not talk about the case and we did it, our asses would be in jail.
Exactly. Awaiting trial.
Awaiting trial.
The singer says, we heard the audio, bring the charges.
Making a negative comment about a judge or the judge's family.
The
Yeah,
judge's
Still
family.
being free. I mean, threatening.
Yeah, he wants the January 6th case, or the election case, I should say, not the election case moved out of D.C. and he wants the judge, of course, who is a black woman appointed by Barack Obama. He wants her to be removed from the case.
But I'm telling you, karma is a thing, bruh, because most of the people that he hates the most are ones who are going to determine whether he stays in jail or not.
Yep.
Whether he goes to jail or not, because he has a visceral hatred for black people and women in particular.
In particular, women. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So,
wow. Well, we will see. Guys, before we go, Charles J. Ogletree Jr., the distinguished Harvard law professor, celebrated attorney and leading civil rights advocate, died at the age of 70 over the weekend. He had battled Alzheimer's disease since 2015. He died at his home in Maryland. He was according to the posting from the Harvard law dean, John F. Manning, Charles was a tireless advocate for civil rights equality, human dignity, and social justice. He actually was Anita Hill's attorney when she was called to testify in the hearings of Clarence Thomas. He also did the Saturday School, which he had all these Black law students come in free of charge so he could help them. He had guest speakers that would come in, like Jesse Jackson, Cornel West, and Danny Glover. And one notable attendee of that Saturday School was none other than Barack Obama, who tweeted the other day that he considered Ogletree a mentor and sought his advice frequently, even during his presidency. So Charles Ogletree Jr. has died at 70. He had early onset Alzheimer's in 2015. The singer says he's a brilliant legal mind, activist, and scholar. For sure, he's the architect of the argument for reparations.
I met him. I'd gone to a CBC some years ago, and he was on a panel. When he came off, you're trying to grab them before they run off. And he spent time with me, talked to me, answered my questions, and then gave me his home and his work number and said, call me, which I did frequently. And no, seriously, because I was kind of blown, because most of the time you meet folks in those circumstances, they blow you up and they're gone about their business. But he was always so open and so willing to take time to talk to me. So I love him. A fabulous, fabulous human being, and a legal giant, really, that cast a huge shadow in Ghana and other parts of Africa. When someone dies, someone of his stature dies, we say a mighty, mighty tree has fallen, and his nickname was Tree.
Yep.
A mighty, mighty tree has fallen, and we are fortunate to have had him for as long as we did.
And I wasn't blessed to ever meet Professor Ogletree, like Barrington, and perhaps you, Stacy. But nonetheless, I read many of his writings, was an avid fan, and a great loss to not only the United States, Africa, but indeed the world. May he rest in peace.
Yeah, Charles Ogletree Jr., 70 years old. So young, so young.
Yeah.
Well, guys, as always, we appreciate both of you. Barrington decided to wear his Black Lives shirt today.
Black Lives Matter.
Amen, brother.
Black Lives Matter.
Listen, Austin got the green hat, so you got the red, the black, and the green over there, and he's got the green. So
yeah, this is my cap from Ethiopian Airways.
Okay.
Cap.
Oh, okay. There you go. When you going again, Austin? When you leaving us again for the continent?
I don't know. No definitive plan just yet.
Oh,
but definitely before the end of the year.
Okay,
of course.
Sounds good. Well,
he's got all of them airlines and stuff on speed dial.
Yes.
I gotta go to Zimbabwe. I gotta go to Ethiopia. Right. So,
well, Barrington, you and I have to understand that we are in the presence of someone extremely important.
I do, and I'm so glad that he even bothered to take time to deal with us.
Right.
He could be frolicking with the jet set and the money.
I always say, love you both, and you are the brothers I never had. I have now.
No, you see, what he really needs to do is put us in his suitcase.
Well, there you go.
I would love to go on some of those jaunts with him.
Man, I'm sure it's like the presidential palace and all that stuff.
Yeah, of course. Special 15-course dinners for Austin.
And Barrington, you know how they tell you don't drink the water? Well, they ship his cases of water ahead of time.
Of course.
And this is Austin Cooper with Let It Be Known, signing off.